This is my tea time chat for March. Welcome to everyone watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. No cup of tea in my hand today because I'm in a rush to film this video. I came home from my personal training this morning and I found that my washing machine seemed to have broken down, but it was actually a sock that got stuck in the filter. So I fixed it, which is good, but that means I wasn't able to sit down and get myself a cup of tea before I sat down to film this video. I am reading this book at the moment. I'm going to start it tonight. A Tempest of Tea. It's apparently about someone who it's sort of like Prohibition era, and then her establishment isn't for alcohol but for vampires, but it's like a tea room kind of setting. I don't know, it sounded like a cozy mystery gothic-y kind of thing. I thought it could be fun, and it has sprayed edges, so I thought that could be like my little stand-in for the tea part of this video. But what we'll be chatting about today is what makes a good review, and I think that this is a topic that can be very polarizing, and Robert Welsh is actually the person who sort of brought this up in one of his recent videos. And then I saw Erica Conger here on YouTube, who stopped making makeup content, who switched to true crime, but she was like, I have to talk about this, and she talked about the things she didn't like about certain reviews, and that's also what Robert Welsh was saying. So I thought that this could be a good opportunity to sit down and tell you about how I review products and what goes in it for me, and then you might also start to understand why on this channel, yes, you see what comes in new, but why I do things the way I do them and how that sort of works for this channel in particular. I'm not here to tell people what to do, but I can also see why some of the downsides to how this entire online content creation game is working, that also means that you're not maybe getting the content you want. So I'll unpack everything as we're talking about things. So first things first, what constitutes a review? And the point that Robert Welsh made, but also Erica, is that a lot of online content creators in the beauty sphere do not go beyond a first impression. So you will see something once. If you saw my video that I did yesterday, you saw my haul, you know I'm going to be testing out this foundation this month. But I'll put it in a video for a first review, but whenever I have new products in, I always roll them into a Shop My Stash. So if you've ever sort of missed the, but when do you go back to things kind of content and you're not yet watching my Shop My Stash videos, then it may be good to check those out, because then I will be able to tell you a little bit more of how things worked for me. And then, for instance, if I have new Essence and Catrice products in, I always do a roundup review video a couple of months later to sort of give you my thoughts on how everything wore and do all of that. So that is content that I'm working on, but on a lot of channels, you will only see first impressions. And I do have to say that I understand why a lot of creators do that, because if I just look at the statistics of this channel and I look at what gets more views, the first impression or the roundup review, when I do those Essence and Catrice videos, it's the first impression. The first impression is the one that gets pushed out more by the algorithm, and that just gets more people to your channel. So it makes a lot of sense that if your aim is to grow a channel, is to do as many first impression reviews as you can. It works, it's why people do it, because it's what does well within the viewing sphere. It does mean, though, that if that's what you're doing and you're constantly only doing first impressions and you're never going back to it again, do you have the longevity that you need? Yes, you're playing into the algorithm and the things that viewers bring new viewers to your channel, but are you then able to establish that sort of rapport that you need to build your community? And that's one of the things that I feel that Erica and also Robert didn't really touch upon in their videos yet, but that I would a piece of information that I would like to add to the discussion, you could say, is that each piece of content you make seems to, it has a different role. And very often, if your aim is just to go viral and to make as much money as you can as possible within this sphere, then doing the kind of things that get you a lot of views makes a lot of sense. So it really depends on the aim that someone has. But also, if you're already doing this full time and you want to maintain a certain level of like viewership over time, then you're gonna have to do certain things just to keep the algorithm happy, even if that doesn't really go with what you want per se. So I definitely feel there's a side to things that if you want to not only grow your channel, you don't only want to bring in new viewers, but you also want to establish a connection, and sort of build upon, like, can people trust you and can people do this, that then you need to start making different videos. And those videos don't always do as well as those first impression reviews. I've been doing this for years, so I have the stats to back this up, because that's definitely how it works, at least for my channel. And I think that that's one of the reasons why a lot of creators don't go past the initial review. It just makes sense. It just makes sense from, like, especially with like short form content, TikTok, where, you know, you're relying on the algorithm pushing you onto the For You page, and it's short and snappy, and you don't really have a lot of time on there, I feel, to really establish a connection with an audience, which is what makes YouTube and long form content a little bit more suitable for the kind of content where you go back to things and like really like add, aware, test, and do things. Like on other platforms, I feel that that's more difficult to do because you're much more reliant as a creator of, does the algorithm push me out or not? Because YouTube is much more still based around subscribing and then like being able to have the subscription tab on your app. If you're not using it yet and you're often wondering like, why am I no longer seeing videos from people? If you're only using the homepage on YouTube, you're not going to see what you're subscribed to, but you're going to see what YouTube recommends, which is just whatever's popular at the minute. And it does take into account a little bit of what your preferences are, but not a lot. But there is a tab actually for just your subscription still on YouTube, which is actually the thing I always use. And only when I run out of videos to watch on there do I go into the home tab to find the things that I can add to that list. So that's where the discovery thing comes in, you could say. So I mainly watch things that are like published by channels that I'm subscribed to, and then I like use the homepage just to add like something fun to watch in between. And sometimes I like it, and sometimes I'm like, nah, maybe I don't want to watch this. So that's like the first reason why I think reviews and what a review entails has become a little bit diluted in the online sphere, because it's just not something that necessarily does well. So you need to be pretty confident in yourself and be able to say like, okay, I don't need every single one of my videos to get the same amount of views, because not everybody will watch that. There's definitely that. But the second reason why I think a lot of creators don't go past the initial like first impression review, or maybe they've only had like a day or two to play with something, is the brands, especially if you're very reliant on PR and you want to get the review out as soon as possible. I've received products where there's only like 2 days between me receiving the product and then having to post the video. And that's not enough time. And especially if you follow a lot of influencers within like the skincare like region, it's also happened to me. I've received some skincare in PR in the past as well, where brands will say like within 2 weeks of you receiving the package, you need to have a video up with these products, and it needs to be more than just an unboxing or like just like, hey, I received these things in PR. So they want you to use it, they want you to say something about it, but for some reason they don't really give you a lot of time to really be able to make up your mind. So that's also something that goes into it, because if you like, yeah, that's just what you need to do in order to receive the products. And sometimes brands will be very transparent about this upfront, but sometimes these rules aren't shared with you until they've already sent out the package. So like in the shipping notification you get, like it's like, hey, we send out the products to you, like please make sure that you do the A, B, C, D, E, and you're like, oh. But, you know, that's fine. I feel like I've always been able to make that work, you could say, for myself and my channel. But I think you can imagine that if someone receives a lot of PR, and especially the more PR you receive, the more this goes into it, that there can sometimes be very little time between the person receiving the product and then them actually posting the video, especially with skincare or things like foundations and primers and stuff. You need to see how that sits on your face in different conditions. With skincare, you need to use things either up or for like 2 to 3 months before you can talk about any sort of results. And that's why, you know, whenever I showcase, like talk about skincare a little bit more, I do that in my beauty empties video, because then you can see like, these are things I've actually used up. These are things that work for me. If I say it's a favorite and I've repurchased it, and you see the same moisturizer in several of those videos over the years, then you know that that's a solid pick. And with foundations, for instance, what I like to do is whenever I test out a foundation, I will wear it for a week or two before I start sharing my thoughts about it, like beyond the initial first impression. I can do a first impression video, I can include a wear test in there, but that's just one day, and that's a snapshot of just that one moment in time. Like, if it's a day where it's a weekend and I've already worked out in the morning, like today, and I've done my makeup afterwards, it's gonna wear differently than when I do my makeup at 8 a.m. in the morning before I go to work, and I then go to a sweaty workout class and I don't take off my makeup until like 10 p.m. at night. You know? So I want to, especially with like foundation reviews and stuff, I really want to be able to give that a whirl. If you've seen any of my eyeshadow palette review videos, you know that I test out every single shade in the palette, and I do multiple looks with every single eyeshadow palette that I have in my collection. And I've gotten comments in the past of people saying like, you know your makeup really, really well. Here's why. Because I'm actually using it, which is, of course, like, it shouldn't be an anomaly. I can't say that word. I can see it written down in my head, but I can't say it. Like, I'm not the odd one out. There are a couple of creators who definitely do this. I love Honest Phoebe. Robert Welsh mentioned her in his video as well. I follow her on TikTok, and I've mentioned her before, that I really enjoyed how she like goes back to things and like will try things again if it didn't work for her. So I really appreciate creators like that. And what I have done, especially in the past, is that if someone really only, like, I believe I'm not sure if she's still on YouTube, but there was a creator a couple of years ago. She was doing these lovely cut creases. She had this collaboration with NYX. I think she was like Kristen, something like that. I don't remember her username. But she was like doing loads of videos, and it was always these first impression reviews. And after watching her channel for a couple of months, I was like, but I never see you use the products again. And then I stopped subscribing to her, because I was like, I want you to see, like, I want to see that you're going back to things and you're maybe using something up, or you're making the effort to do that. And I definitely feel that because of how this entire online game is organized by people other than us as creators, be it brands, be it the platforms we're on, like, if you want to be seen by people, the best thing you can do is to talk about new products. The more you talk about new products continuously, the more views you get. And like, I talk about new makeup, but I also want to go back to old favorites, use things again. And I definitely have content that I've been doing for years that does also fairly well on this channel, that I just want to keep doing it, because I feel it's very important that if I do an overview of like my 10 favorite foundations for you, that those are tried and true, tested, put them through the ringer kind of situations, you know? And I think that that's also one of the reasons why it's still very, very valuable for me to actually do this as a side hustle more so than my main gig. Because if I were a content creator and I was working from home all day, and unless I like make plans to go out and like do things with people, I wouldn't really, like, then my makeup would wear differently too, I feel. I think there's a huge difference between people who like do their makeup early in the morning when there's bad lighting because the only place where you can do your makeup is like in the bathroom, and you need to head out the door to work, and then you're at work all day, so your makeup needs to stay put, and then maybe you go out for drinks or a workout or a dinner afterwards, or maybe there's a party of some kind, and that you're then like, and then at the end of the day you take your makeup off and you still want it to look decent. That's different wear than like the average content creator. Like on content creation days, I always film on my days off, I'm not getting ready until like 11, you know, and then I turn on that camera right when my makeup is finished, so this still looks fairly okay because it's only been on for about an hour, you know. But know that behind the scenes, I'm like putting on all of these products to make sure that I can make up my mind and like, does it still wear decently enough and all that. So that's why I always want to be able to wear things like on the daily, because it's really when I go to work and I'm teaching all day, like I'm a teacher, I talk. Does my lipstick bleed out of its lip line if I move my mouth a lot? Very valuable information for me. Does my foundation start to crease in like smile lines and stuff, or like the little like frowning bits up here because I move my face a lot throughout the day? I ride my bike into work. Will it hold up under a rainstorm? Always really interesting too. So I definitely feel that, you know, if you really want to put makeup through its paces, there's just a little bit more that goes into it than just like, hey, this is a new product and let's be that. But I can understand why so many creators don't give you anything beyond that first impression, because that's the thing that A, does well, and B, it's very often what brands demand. And then once you've done that video, that brand is like, okay, great, I don't care if you ever show it again. So there's no real incentive, depending on what incentive you find important, because I feel there is the incentive for me. I find it really important that this channel is more than just, it's why I like doing these kind of videos actually, to have that sort of rapport with you guys and that you know a little bit more about what's going on behind the scenes and how I like to do things. I find that really important to share that with you as well. And like the tea time chat videos, they don't get a lot of views, but there's always a lot of comments and there's always a lot of discussion going on, which is what I like to have. So I'm like, you know, it's not doing the best views wise, but it does work a lot engagement wise. Like if I look at my tea time chat videos compared to other videos I do, maybe not a lot of people watch them, but the people who watch them pretty much watch the entire video, and these videos are never short. So I'm always surprised to see how that works. So I just have slightly different goals. I think also because this isn't my main gig, I don't rely on what I do online to like pay my mortgage and pay for groceries and stuff. And I think that's when things become different. And then there's just other things that come into play. And I mean, this is big business. And if you want to be part of that business, there are certain choices you're going to have to make. I've explained this in the past as well. I have no desire to go viral or to have like the biggest following or to like even make this my full-time job, because I like being a teacher and I love doing my job. And of course, if things go like really well, I've seen like that happens of course to people as well. I've followed many a creator who had their day job and they started doing this, and it was like, whoops, all of a sudden I'm going viral and I'm getting a lot of people who watch my videos, and okay, I guess this is now my thing. That still happens for people as well, but I don't know. I think I've just really gotten like, I like what I'm getting out of this. That's what I'm trying to say. So I don't really need it to be more. And I think that really goes into how I run this channel and what I like to do. But when it comes to reviews, yes, I find that annoying as well if people only ever like show you new things, and it's, you know, the whole like TikTok thing, like, oh, it's amazing, and they haven't even blended out the foundation, and you're like, And also, that's not a review, so I always try to know, like, when I do like product overviews, like these are my favorite products in this category, or I recommend these products for fair skin, or if you have a cool tone, like I've tested these things. Things don't end up being unused in my makeup collection. And at the minute, I'm posting all of my declutters, of course. So my first one went up last Thursday. So if you haven't watched it yet, please do. And I am getting rid of things that are my favorites that I really enjoy, but I can't keep all of these products as well. So even though I love something, I sometimes even have to declutter it because there's just too much otherwise. And I do want to keep things manageable and a little bit toned down, and I just don't want it to like overwhelm me and to also do that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to stay away from growing this channel as quickly as possible, because I know that once I hit a certain subscriber count, I'm going to be more interesting even for brands to work with me, which means I'm going to possibly get even more PR than I already did. And I already felt overwhelmed last January, like I think it was my February haul actually, where everything in that haul, save for like one thing, was things that were sent to me in PR. And I was like, how am I ever going to get to all of these things? I won't have time to try. It was a whole thing. Like in my brain, it was just not working anymore. And I was like, what would happen if I were to do this full time and I was sent things all the time? Like what kind of pressure would I feel then? And then I would also feel bad because, especially because I only do this as a side hustle, I don't always have time to take pictures, film the videos, do that. So especially if brands have these certain demands, it can be quite a hustle for me to like, okay, then I need to like, okay, take the pictures that day so I can use them as layovers in the video, as B-roll, and then I need to do it like that. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So I appreciate like the only things that I really say yes to when it comes to PR for that reason is if I have a little bit more time. Either because the brand that's sending it doesn't care, they're like, you can do with this whatever you like, and maybe don't use it, maybe use it, maybe don't. I like whatever it is that I like to do then, I can just like plan it and just like make it, like roll it into the thing whenever I want. I just filmed my haul and I showed you this was sent to me in PR, the Old Soul by Glaminatrix. I'm super grateful that MONOLITH sent this to me. But I also know that realistically, I won't be able to roll it into Who Shot My Stash until April, possibly even May. If I also want to review the other things that are new to me that I still have sitting on the shelf, like waiting to go. And I'm like, I do want to keep things manageable for myself as well. So for me, there is no incentive to go like new, because else I will lose track of things. I will no longer be happy combining this with my regular day job and doing all that. So I'm like, you know what? Steady as she goes. We're just like a little like gentle stream. That's how I like to view this and how I would like to maintain this for as long as possible, and not like go, we need to get as many viewers as we can. And I definitely feel like there's a lot of pressure and a lot of like, especially for people who are new in this whole like online creation thing. It's about like the new stuff, and I want to get as many views as possible as quickly as possible so I can make money. The people who come to this game thinking like that are also the ones that disappear within like a year or two. They very often don't have the longevity because it's just so exhausting to always be on top, on point of everything, playing into every single online trend that you can possibly find. I mean, there's a reason why brands have marketing teams that do this for a living. And when you are trying to do that all by yourself, it's a reason why so many influencers, like if you've ever heard this and you thought like, oh, that's ridiculous. But if you're like on this side of the camera, there is no boss. There's nobody telling you what to do. So if all you're doing is reacting to whatever it is that's happening, whether that's algorithms, trends, your stats, the demands of viewers that seem to be there, but that aren't always there really, or that are just completely unrealistic, that's when influencers burn out. It's like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I need to step away. I need to take some space. I need to whatever. It's usually because they're trying too hard to do everything. And you can't do everything. You're just one person. So you need to stay pretty true to yourself in order to be able to do that. And I feel that, especially with this younger generation, if you're starting this, if you're like in your teens or in your early 20s and you've never done this before, you've never worked like a different job in your life, and you're just like doing this, and all of a sudden you become very popular, and then you'll change as a person. You'll start to like different things. Can you then still maintain your audience? That's a question. So when it comes to reviews and how people do that, I totally get why they do it, because it works. It's what gets you the views. It's what gets you to grow as quickly as possible. If that's your aim, fine, but also try to find a way to build longevity into the content you create. But longevity is not the name of the game. It's not how the apps work. It's not how the platform works. I mean, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, like wherever you're at, where you're making money, all of the platforms are designed to be as beneficial to the platform as possible, not the viewer, not the creator. So you can be angry about that, but that's kind of what you're signing up for, I feel. So I feel like there could be more guidance almost, especially for younger people, like, hey, don't start this unless you know what you want. And this is also like at work, so this is where like my two lives kind of cross over. There's like a week where people, like our students, can do like other things than just regular classes. And I did a workshop last year for the first time, and they asked me to do it again this year, about become an influencer. So then I tell them I do this myself or whatever. And I sort of have a little game plan for them to figure out, like, okay, how do I want to build my brand? Where do I start? Who's my audience? Who am I? What does my business plan look like if I were to like seriously like sign up for making this a company? But I also have a section at the end about like how you can make money with this, and like that you still need to pay taxes. And I literally had students sitting there last year who were like, but that way I still can get rich. And I'm like, that whole thing of like influencers like being rich and like living the high life and that sort of thing, of course there's a couple of people who do so. But yeah, it's not as easy as a lot of people think, and it's also not as attainable as a lot of people make it out to seem, especially a lot of like online creators who like flaunt like wealth and like I'm here and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Sure, for a couple few selected people this will work, but that's not for the masses. And how, like, if you don't know how to figure that out, and it's like, just buy my plan and you will know. The reason why that person is rich is because you subscribe to their plan every month. So you need to figure out a way to, like, if you truly want this, it's about longevity, it's about staying true to who you are. And if you, especially at an age where you don't really know that very well yet, then it can be very difficult to do this for a long period of time. In a way, I almost like for younger people, the way this works, and especially if you're in here to like make a quick buck, it's a bit like being a professional athlete. You know, you can only be on top of that sort of field for a couple of like rounds, like maybe like 5 to 10 years. You can really, really be at that top level. And then you're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to do other things. You're going to have to use the skill set that you've learned to do something else. Because if your audience disappears, then you have nothing else left. So, and I don't think that a lot of people realize that. And I definitely, like with a lot of like influencers, there's only a few people who really are able to maintain that sort of like super high level and you see people like they're just being controversial for the sake of being controversial, also for that reason, because the controversy is what sells, it's what gets you the views. But does that make you happy? Does that make you happy? So there's like, again, I understand why people do the things they do when it comes to reviewing. Does it make for a good review? No. But I think also as viewers, we need to educate ourselves. Like, if we don't find the content we want from a creator, you're free to find someone else. And it can be hard work to find those creators that go with what you want to watch. And not everyone you follow will give you exactly what you're looking for. But that's like one of the things, like, you need to create your own little ecosystem of things that you like to watch, and then that way you can build that out. So find people where it's like, okay, that's what I can trust and all that. And as creators, we can do the work. We can do that. Like, if we try to not chase the next best thing altogether, but this is a point I've made in the past as well, like with like people commenting on like, I don't want to see new makeup all the time. And like, there are times where I showcase more new makeup, but if you watch my Shop My Stash videos, as I already mentioned at the start, I am sharing a lot there of like what I'm going back to. Am I hitting pan? What am I trying to use up? Like, and I do my little overviews of like, these are my favorites for this and these are my favorites for that. Like, I do those kind of videos as well. And you can know for sure, because when I roll things into my Shop My Stash every month, and that selection of makeup is what I'm using for that month. I rarely reach for things beyond what's in the drawer for that month. I don't have time. I'm only one person. I have one face, two eyeballs. It's not going to work. So I try to like make that realistic for myself and then go like, okay, and then just methodically work through those products. And some products stay in month after month after month because I like using those up. Things like primers, powders, mascara, eyeshadow primers, those kind of things are the things I view as being my workhorses in my makeup collection, you could say. That's also categories where I don't have a lot of products in at a given time, because I know I can, like, a powder will take me like 2 years easily before it's completely gone. So that's why I don't have too many powders, because I don't feel like testing them out all the time because I have dry skin. So powder isn't really something I need a lot of as well. So I don't have the best skin type, you could say, to be testing out those things. And that's another reason why with reviews, I do feel that there is this tendency to think like, oh, I can't trust this review because you didn't like it. But with makeup, it's so incredibly subjective. What works for one person may not work for the next, based on skin type, skin tone. How long have you already been using makeup? How confident are you wearing certain things? I know not everybody is confident enough to wear red lipstick. I love it. I love red lipstick. But if you've never worn a matte red like this, like that doesn't really budge at all, like, I know I need to wipe this off at the end of the day, what's still left. I'm about to have lunch. But that's really not a makeup technique kind of thing, but that's also a preference for me. Again, I go back to the teaching thing. I don't want to have to run the risk of red lipstick getting on my teeth on a teaching day. So I want there to be a matte but comfortable formula that lasts a long time and that doesn't slide around everywhere. But if you don't like matte formulas and you really want it to be creamy, then this is not going to be for you. So it has to suit your lifestyle. It has to suit, like, whether you're oily or dry is going to make a world of difference of what kind of products are going to work for you. Do you need powder? Do you not need powder? What expectations do you have of a primer? I don't wear primer for longevity. I wear primer more so for like almost like an extra moisturizer. That's why I like really glowy, almost like very dewy primers, because it's like an extra layer of moisture for my skin. I still wear skincare. I do my skincare before, and I get plenty of like moisture from that whole thing. But because my skin is so dry, if I want my foundation to look nice throughout the day, I need an extra step of moisture. So that's what I want for my primers. But yeah, also with setting sprays, I've tried so many, and most of them make my makeup look incredibly cakey that are really popular online. Why? Because I have dry skin. And now that I'm like past 40, I'm also starting to notice some more laxity in my skin. And I know that whatever age you are, even though, you know, we don't want to be ageist, everybody can wear whatever they want. But I do believe that you need to change your makeup techniques ever so slightly with almost every 5 to 10 years of your life. Because if you're 40 and you're still using the same techniques you used when you were in your 20s, it's probably not going to work. If you had that very heavy coverage like Estee Lauder double wear thing in your 20s and you're feeling it no longer looks good in your 40s, you may need a different technique, or you may even need a completely different product. Because again, I'm not the authority on this, but I've heard, I think Dr. Shireen Idris has talked about this, where, you know, as we age, our skin tends to be drier. So you also need other things as your skin changes, as things become more wrinkly and we get a little bit of like sagging and stuff. We're gonna have to do our foundation in a slightly different way. Maybe not with a beauty blender, for instance. So how to make things last doesn't just depend on the product, you could say. It's also how do you use it? What age are you? What's your skin like? I mean, I've made this channel almost like, there's a couple of like niches that I sort of have with this channel, and one of them is fair and cool toned skin, because that's what I have. As you can tell, like, I am very fair, I'm a little bit pinky, and that really, really makes or breaks what I like. I have deep set hooded eyes, which greatly influences what eyeshadow looks or doesn't look right on me. So that's one of the reasons why I was saying before, like, try to build yourself a little group of creators that have similar features to yours. If you have dry skin, find someone with dry skin. If you have oily skin, find someone with oily skin. If you have very deep skin, find someone with deep skin. If you have very fair skin, like, you need to have a range of people that you're following so that you can end up getting the reviews and recommendations that might possibly work for you. And if you're relying too much on one person, I think that that can be an issue as well. That doesn't even have to do anything with the way a creator reviews a product, but there is, because we are all so different as human beings and our skin reacts differently. I really feel like what works really well for someone else may not work for someone at all, just because they have a different skin type. If you are very prone to being sensitive to fragrance, I can only imagine how hard it is to find products that work for you. My skin doesn't react to fragrance, but one of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of fragrance is because I can be very sensitive to smells. And not like bad smells or anything like that, but I have certain scents that the minute my nose hits it, I start to cough. It's almost like my asthma is activated just because I smell something. And it's almost like it's more psychological than anything else. It's not like a skin reaction that I get, but more like an airway reaction. And especially if things are too sweet, especially with a lot of fragrance that's like really popular, those, are they the stiletto heel ones? Is it Caroline Herrera perfumes? Those, even if I just smell the tester, I go like, no, because it gives me a headache. And this is something that I've had experience with in the past. Very, very early on in my like beauty discovery days, a friend of mine had recommended that for your perfume to last longer, to like spray it into your scarf. So I had done that, and yes, the perfume lasted all day, But the headache I had also lasted all day. So that's one of the reasons why when it comes to fragrance, I'm not a huge fan of everything being fragrance, 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 fragrance nowadays. Especially on like, if you've ever watched Clean Talk, like I very, very much effort goes into these beauty routines that you see there. But the only thing my brain is thinking, it's like, you're now layering this and then you're layering that. I'm like, and all these scents, and they want the scent to last as long as possible. And I'm like, no. I already find that the body butter I use at night to rub onto my hands and feet, that I can still smell that in the morning, I already find like overkill. And then these people are going on like onto social media going like, I want this smell to last at least 24 hours. And I'm like, ooh, no, please don't. Like, I will wash clothes just because I accidentally sprayed perfume on them, and I can now, like, whenever I put on the jacket or whatever, it's very often blazers and stuff, and like, that still has this perfume on from last time. I just want a clean slate every single time, whatever perfume I put on. So I definitely feel there is, with makeup, with skincare, even more so. I mean, I've definitely experienced this in the past where, in theory, if you looked at the ingredient list, it should be fine. And then my skin reacted to it. And so even if objectively the ingredient list seems to be okay, it may still not work for you because we never know exactly as consumers what the full formulation is like. Just because you see an ingredient on the ingredient list, I mean, it depends on how sensitive you are to things, of course. I mean, if you're truly allergic to something, like if you've done a skin test and it's come out, then please don't use it. But I have found where sometimes if a product has some of it in it, but then together with other things, I'm fine. But if it's too much of that one thing, my skin just freaks out. And I definitely think like there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. Like if you drink too much water, you're literally drowning from the inside out, right? So you could kill yourself by drinking too much water. So like everything needs to be balanced, and what balance you need, and then therefore what makeup products might work for you, is a personal journey. And the way I view content creation and beauty reviews online is I try to follow many different people so that I get different perspectives on what might work for me, and then I sort of pick and choose from that what I might like. And by now, I've been doing this for more than 15 years. I've tried so many products, also skincare wise, that I can just look at the ingredient list of a skincare product. I was like, oh, that might actually be, oh, it's got this and this. Oh, nice. It's got all three of the ingredients that usually work for me. And then I might want to try that. That's how my brain currently works. And with a lot of makeup, I've tried so many things that I was like, okay, if it's this brand and it's this product and it looks like that and that and that in the swatch, I can almost already imagine what it's going to do like on my skin, how it's going to sit, how it's going to perform. Like, I already have that information in my brain just because I've tried hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of products. And I know that some people come on here like, yeah, well, I've also tried a lot. But if you're just a regular consumer and you've tried like one foundation a year because you use your foundation until it's gone and then you buy a new one, you have not tested out makeup like other people might have. I'm still not like I'm not a like cosmetic scientist, of course, so that's a completely different ballpark. But I know very well what works for me. And I hope by sharing my experience, and that's also why I like to always like really like put emphasis on that in my reviews, like, this is just my experience. This may not work for me, but I can see this working for person so and so. This blush, super pigmented, very intense. I need to use a very light hand to be very careful, but hey, if you have a deep skin tone, this is gonna look gorgeous on you. Or, hey, this foundation is a little bit too yellow for me, but if you're a light, medium, warm undertone person, this foundation may be lovely. I've tried so many products where I've loved the formula, Maybelline foundation, the skin tint. I love the formula. The formula of that Maybelline skin tint with the little shimmer in it. Oh, it's so beautiful. It looks so gorgeous on the skin. But it's the completely wrong shade for me, even in the lightest shade. So that's why I'm like, yes, I can appreciate the product. And I definitely think that that's like that sort of nuance is very difficult to translate in especially short form content. There's no time for nuance. It's just black and white. And black and white is what algorithms like. It's what gets clicks. It's what gets views. And it's sometimes also what viewers seem to want. They don't want the entire backstory. The amount of comments I get from people saying, girl, just get to the point. Why are you rambling on for the first 2 minutes of your video before you've even shown a product? But I do that because I want you to know where I'm coming from with the review before you watch it. And sometimes I forget to include something, and then as I'm like talking about my 10 favorite foundations, I will sneak something in, but I don't even think of those videos as actual reviews. It's like I've done the review, and now I'm like sort of doing a roundup of like, these are favorites for this thing, or hey, these are my top 10 favorite mauve tone blushes. You know I've tested those out. So I don't really think of those as like truly review videos, but of course I need to have reviewed the product for me to say like, these are my 10 favorite of anything, you know? So that definitely does go into it. So I always preface it, like especially if I'm like doing a roundup of foundations, I try to include somewhere in the video like what my skin type is, what I'm looking for in foundation, so that when you're watching the video, you know whether that's also what you're looking for. My preferences, because I have dry skin, is lightweight, dewy, little to no coverage. Like the lesser coverage, the better. I don't really go beyond medium coverage foundation any given day. And then a medium coverage foundation, I use like half pump. I just use less. But if you have, I don't know, oily skin and maybe you have a lot to cover up that you want to cover up and you love something that's full cover, then maybe my recommendation isn't for you. So I do feel that that subjectivity and the nuance that comes with that can sometimes be lost as well when we're reviewing products. And some of that is just completely personal preference. I mean, when it comes to eyeshadow, I know I'm incredibly picky and I'm always going on about like, I wish there were more shimmers or better shimmers that were easier to pick up with a brush. And then so many people in my comments are like, I just use a finger, girl. I'm like, I use a finger as well. But for reasons with this whole eye shape situation, I just really prefer if I can pick up a eyeshadow with a brush first, because it just gives me more control over the product. So that's, again, something super subjective and tailored to me. But I will not say that I don't love this product because of it. I may just say like, this is just not really my favorite. Strong language on social media just really, really works. Black and white, I hate this. This is my holy grail. Like putting a foundation on and saying how amazing it is before you've even blended it out. Those are hooks to grab your attention. So as a viewer, you need to kind of go beyond that and sort of like take it with a grain of salt. Because it's just there to, like, it has a different function. It's not even, I don't even see that as being part of the review, because very often what creators will do is like, they will also like make you think that they have a negative opinion about the product, but then you watch the video and it's not that negative at all. I'm very much also guilty of that. I sometimes do that as well. And that may seem like very like two-faced or almost like duplicitous or whatever, but I don't think that, you know, those are just things that work. Again, that has to do with algorithms and how that all ties together. So the strong language is, if that's something that you find a little icky about reviews, again, I can see why creators do it. And nuance, sort of like the gray of like, oh, like the subjectivity that goes into a makeup review, because unless you're a chemist and you're breaking apart the formula, there is no way to be objective about using a makeup product because there are so many variables that go into it. I think even the location you live in determines how it's going to work. I can imagine that if you live in like Florida, I mean, I went to Miami once, the humidity is just of another level where like there would be people running, like going on their daily runs along the beach. And I was staying in Miami Beach, actually. So there were a lot of people, like, just going on their runs. But they were, like, running, like, full out. Because it was just too hot and humid to do that. And again, if you live in a climate that's incredibly humid, your makeup's going to wear differently than when you live in a very dry climate. And here in the Netherlands, everything is quite mild. We do have pretty high levels of humidity here. But, like, the Netherlands, like a lot of people are making fun of us like about heat until they've been here in the summer. Like also in the snow, like the snow in the wintertime, everybody was making fun of the Netherlands. Like everything starts to shut down because there's like 1 week of snow. It's like because we don't have the facilities to keep going. Like countries where it snows more regularly invest in snow prevention or like making sure there's enough people to clear the roads, but we don't have that, so we were advised to stay at home. But I definitely think that the place you live in also plays a role in how your makeup wears. Like over here in the Netherlands, I love a waterproof mascara because with the amount of rain we're having, yes, definitely. So there's so much that goes into it, and I try to be very careful and like say that every single time. But it can also be like, I can also imagine if you watch a creator for a very long time that after a while, like, yeah, I know this by now that you have dry skin. You don't need to say it in every video. But that's again another downside to how this entire content creation world works, is that not everybody who watches your videos watches everything. And there are continuously new people who are like seeing you for the first time. So that you need to watch that, like you need to cater to so many different audiences with every single video you make. And that's just incredibly difficult. And that's sometimes also when I see certain comments on videos, I'm like, okay, it's very clear that you don't really know anything about me. And I think, especially because I'm now starting to post more shorts, I really feel that there's like, those shorts don't reach the same audience as my long form content does. So that brings in a huge influx of new people who may not have never seen me. And then they like, I try to keep them as short as possible. I think on YouTube, a short can only be up to 3 minutes. On TikTok, you can now do like longer things than that. But yeah, on YouTube, it has to be like 3 minutes max for it to be a short. And so I try to keep them under a minute. But there's only so much you can do in under a minute. So how do I get my message across? And like, so I'm trying to just like do little product showcases over there. So if you're not watching my shorts yet and you want to see more like makeup application and like quick swatches and all that jazz, then maybe go follow my shorts as well. I think shorts is that they're not always like listed as part of your subscriptions. I think you need to seek them out a little bit more. But yeah, you could watch those in the meantime. But I'm trying to use those as B-roll for my Shop My Stashes, so that while I'm talking about the product and like sharing my thoughts, I can have a little video in the background, like just to show you like a swatch and like what it looks like on my face. That's sort of what I'm experimenting with at the minute. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into reviewing. Know that that's not always possible because brands don't give you a lot of time. Know that not every creator does that because it just doesn't do very well if you're like not talking about new things enough. And then lastly, reviews are incredibly subjective. So you need to have a little group of people you follow in order to get the recommendations that work for you as a person. Like if you have oily skin and you watch me, you're more than welcome to watch my videos, but I'm not entirely sure how much added value my reviews have objectively because I come from a dry skin person perspective. That's just the way it is. There's so many factors that just go into play. And those aren't always factors we can control for or that we can change. It has to do with how you live your life, where you live, how old you are, your skin type, your skin tone. Like there's so many things that go into it. What you might need and what works for you. So I hope this video was helpful, giving you a little bit of a behind the scenes, but also like adding, like expanding this discussion of what is a review and when is it good and what do we need to take into account. When it comes to makeup, I think that that's definitely one of the things that social media changed in the beauty world. Is I remember there being a time without YouTube and TikTok and all that, and we have beauty magazines for makeup recommendations, and the salespeople in like department stores and beauty stores and stuff. That's the only thing we had, and we were always being sold things, promises, but we never had the opportunity to really see it. And I definitely feel that also with the growth of beauty online and this becoming a job, there's more of that selling and less of the like usage and the things that really made the beauty community the way it was. And I think that that's why my channel sometimes feels very old school, because I still want it to be about the usage, because that was the thing that we were all missing back when the beauty community blew up for the first time. Everybody was like, oh, finally, I get to see how I use these products and how it applies and how everything works. And I think there's merit in both sides, and I really hope that there's going to be like enough for everyone to love and just stick to. But yeah, I can totally understand also why some people just don't do that, because if you're just here to make a quick buck, just talk about new makeup all the time and you'll grow your channel within weeks. Yes. So there's that as well. So it's one of those things where you just can never win. That's the way I feel about it. Oh well. Thanks for watching this video today. Thumbs it up if you liked it, subscribe, and check back for more if you want to see more videos. I post 4 times a week on this channel, all about beauty, makeup content. And then over on my second channel, I share the more lifestyle-y things. So I do some fashion bits on there. I do some book reviews on there. And I also do the odd vlog from time to time. I don't have any trips planned anytime soon though. So you're gonna have to wait for some vlogs, but yeah, that's everything else goes on to the second channel, you could say. And if you want to follow me on any other social media, all of my links are in the description box down below, so then you can follow me wherever. So thanks so much for watching me here today, and then I hope to see you again really, really soon in a new video. Take care. Bye-bye.